All right, we're live. I'm going live over here. I've got all these gadgets here. Sure, this one's good. Good. Okay. I'm recording here. I got this microphone for here and this microphone for here. I think we're good to go. All right. Welcome. How are we doing? Good. Thank God. Good. It's been a minute. We haven't had I think it's been over a month because we had Pesach and then we were in Israel and a lot going on in the world. It was amazing. It was great. It was great. We were hoping our son would be content with that, but he still wants to do this big party. So, yeah, you'll all be there, God willing. Yeah, right after Shavuos. Yeah, so that was I know, right? I don't know if he does. I don't know if he realizes it. That's what I know. But whatever.
But good for him that it's normal. That he wants all the great things.
Yeah. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. All right. So let's hop in and just do a quick recap because it has been a while and I don't even have room for my Sefer here because I've got all this contraptions going on. But it's good to be back here. Kind of missed Israel already, but it's good to be back here with you ladies. And yeah, Faggy, came to the bar mitzvah. That was really cool.
I saw the video of him getting the money and saying, "I'm set for life." Yeah.
Our son's something else. The best, I'll show you the picture when we were at the Kotel during the, so after he gets his Aliyah for the first time, so there's a special blessing that the father says, absolving himself from all the responsibility of the son, and now all his mitzvot and all his avodas Hashem is on him. And as I'm saying the bracha, Shiloh's going like this and running away with his hands on his hair. I'll show you the picture. It's really funny. Yeah, I don't know how excited he was about that. I was happy about it. All right, so it's been a while, so I just want to so we don't just hop right into where we're at. Even though we are still amazing enough, I think just in the second sentence, yeah, that's pretty wild. That we're on the second sentence, and this is the 10th class. So yeah, so at this pace, we'll be here till 120, which is okay. Because the idea is to learn, right? It's not just to go through it. So just a brief recap, right? So we're here in Sefer Yetzirah. We're still in chapter 1, section 1, where we started off with the pasuk with 32 mystical paths of wisdom, engraved Yud-He, which is one of God's names, the Lord of hosts, God of Israel, the living God, King of the universe, El Shaddai, continues on. So we're still focusing on this beginning aspect of it. 32, we said, what's interesting is the number 32, which is Lev, which is the heart. And these 32 paths we learned are connected to the two main ways information God channels into the world, which is quantity and quality. Quantity being numerical order, quality meaning types of information, like a little bit more descriptive. So quantity being the 10 sefirot, quality being the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, 22 and 10, 32. That's also the 32 paths. And we spoke about how these paths are considered mystical, and they're also considered nitivot, which means they're individual paths, that each one of us has an individual path, 32 of them. This is part of our journey in life that is kind of the inner aspects of our heart. It's almost like God put a map inside of our hearts, and in there is when we can unlock that inside of our heart is the map of our life, our purpose, all the things that we constantly search for. So it's in there, right? It's kind of our guiding North Star, our guiding light. And the idea of being that it's really a false concept that they have in the secular world of you could be anything you want or do anything you want. That's not the idea. The idea is to figure out who you really are and why you're here and then become it, right? It's almost like God kind of set each one of us, just like we have a different DNA structure, we have a different path in life. And so it's really about trying to tap in to that, unlock that key to our hearts where we can figure out what that path is. And that's what all the Sefer Yetzirah is about, how we're going to kind of find those paths inside of us and use them as a life journey. We use the word engraving, hakika, explaining how that originally everything was just complete darkness. and God kind of engraved that light into the darkness. And same thing with our lives. Often it seems that our lives are dark, meaning we don't see purpose. Sometimes we don't see value, we don't see direction. It's just dark. But inside that darkness are these paths that are engraved in there. And that's why at times, kind of we have this like gut feeling, right? Like sometimes it's above logic. We're doing something and we're feeling maybe this isn't right, or we're getting not right vibes, right energy, whatever, because in our heart really is that guiding direction. And it's just a matter of tapping into that energy that is engraved there. And we learned about this idea of engraving is different than writing. Writing, you basically have ink and paper. It's two separate things. Engraving is when it becomes inside of it, like the luchos we learned about, right? Like they're engraved through and through. Once you engrave in something, you can't unengrave it. It's part of it. So these 32 paths are literally engraved in our hearts, meaning that it's deep inside of there. And I can just tell you from my own journey in life, I'm looking just even where I'm now holding over the last 16 years since we've been back in America. I would say for a good 12, 13 of them, I was like kicking and screaming, like, what am I doing? What am I doing with the center? What am I doing with my law firm? These are not necessarily directions I would have chosen for myself. I probably would have picked different career path. I probably would have picked different shlichot of not dealing with people who come from observant homes, who were traumatized from Judaism. Like I would have probably picked people like me who come from secular homes, who are get excited when you're talking about, wow, now I've heard that my whole life, right? So from my eyes, I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? Like I'm going through the motions because my mashpia said, listen, this is the path God's sending you on. You got to embrace it. I'm like, but it's not for me. And only in the last few years, I've got to a point where it's just become more and more clear that this is for me. And to the point where it's not a burden, where I'm enjoying it. Like I enjoy hanging out with you girls. I enjoy hanging out with the center guys. Like it's something that I'm finding personal redemption from. Whereas for a while it was just a burden. And even with my office as a lawyer, it's hard. It's very hard work. It's draining. We're dealing with people with all sorts of financial problems and issues. And when I was in Israel, I found out they shut our office down. The police were out front. We had a client who was like really depressed because when people don't have money, it causes major problems in every aspect of their life. And this lady basically called her office and said she can't handle it anymore. She's coming down to her office and she's going to commit suicide, and she wants to do it in front of everyone in the office so they can see. So one of our staff called the police and the baker. It was like a whole thing. So it's kind of stressful dealing with people with all these problems all the time. And again, for years, I'm like, why am I doing this? I don't want to do this. And I had to keep just putting my head down to the point where it's now there's value and enjoyment in what I'm doing. So I guess the point I'm trying to bring across is that sense. I don't know why that cut out over there on the thing, but anyways, so that's kind of the idea is eventually, Judaism is a little bit weird. It's a little bit in reverse. The basic functioning of the world is, if you don't feel like it, don't do it. If you feel like it, do it. Like only do what you feel like doing. Whereas our educational system is first you do it, understand it, and it starts making sense. And eventually you feel it where it becomes like, wow, this is real. So it's a journey. It's a journey getting to this point of trying to uncover these paths inside of us and our journey and sometimes going beyond what our logical brain tells us and getting into that deep gut, which is the inner part of the heart, which is our guide. Yeah, go ahead.
So, for me, I know the things I want to do are usually the things that will end up hurting me. The things that I don't want to do are the things that help me in the long term.
It's a perfect example. Let me just repeat it If you don't mind, for those in here, like the things that you say that are not good for you, they're going to hurt you, and the things you don't want to do are really good for you in the long run.
What I want to do is do things,
Right, exactly.
Eat nasty food and watch Netflix.
Right.
Is that helpful in any way? No. And
Beautiful example.
Only lead me to somewhere bad. No.
Beautiful, right? So because you're, and this is the game. This is the kind of path that we have to go on, because if we just go on what we feel like, I tell my kids all the time, like, I don't feel like going in the shower. I'm like, if I only worked when I felt like working, we'd be sleeping in a tent on the side of the road. Because we can only do the things we do as a family because I work when I don't feel like it. Of like, I know you'll start wanting to do that thing. So it'll start aligning where you'll actually want to do it because you'll feel better about yourself. It's like exercise. Exercise is, I talk about it a lot. I was in my exercise class at 7:00 in this morning, and it's hard. I haven't been in the gym for a month after Pesach and after the things that you feel like doing that aren't good for you, because after you do them, you're like, ugh. And the thing that you don't want to do, but you do after, you're like, I'm glad I did that, right? So it's the afterwards that you look back and realize what is the right decision. And that's what life is about. It's literally about it. It's just working with your animal soul and getting to the point where you're like, yeah, okay, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyways. I'm not in the mood, but it's what I need to do, right?
It takes you closer to a life that you really
Correct. I like remember being in law school, like I was like, it was hard as hell. And I almost dropped out many times. And I remember talking to someone who was like first year and they were in their third. Are you enjoying it? No. Being a Jew or just being a functional member in society is learning to bypass the instant gratification for a longer delayed pleasure that takes much longer, but is much more rewarding, right? Okay, so let's hop in where we're at right now, where we're holding, which is now we're talking about, we're still in the first sentence of these 32 mystical paths of wisdom that were engraved by Yud Hey. Yud Hey, or Yah as it says, are the first two letters of God's name in the Tetragrammaton, which is Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. So over here, the Sefer Yetzirah is only using the Yud and the Hey and not the Vav and the Hey, and that's where we're at now, trying to figure out why. So I'm going to go inside. So it says, Sadia Gon translates this as the eternal. The Kabbalists normally associate the name Yah, Yud, Hey with wisdom or Chokhmah, because we know that the four letters of God's name, Yud, Hey, and Vav, Hey, the Yud is Chokhmah, which is wisdom. The Hey is Bina. Those are kind of the upper worlds, the upper energy of the head and the heart. And then we have the Vav and the lower Hey, which is known as Zah and Malchus, which are the offspring, which are the emotions or the feelings, and the actions or the speech. So Yud Hey is usually referred to what we would say as the Yud as wisdom and the Hey as understanding. So it's Chokhmah and Bina. But over here, it's saying something even deeper. It's referring to God in his capacity of being eternal. So what does it mean? It says the reason why the name as a whole is used to designate wisdom is because wisdom cannot be grasped except when it's clothed in understanding. For this reason, the Yud alone is not used as the name for wisdom, but rather the Yud combined with the Hey. And we've spoken about this at length, and that's really what everything's about. Not just the Sefer Yetzirah, but all of creation is getting to this balance of this masculine and feminine energy. God being the masculine energy, Am Yisrael being the feminine. In a relationship, you have the man and the woman, which is what we call mashpia and makabel, which is the giver and the receiver. So the Yud and Hey have to work together. This is the wisdom and understanding, meaning according to Kabbalah and Chassidus, the wisdom or the Yud, which is Chokhmah, is the light that doesn't really have shape or form. It's like the intuition. It's like the spark of an idea it's called like a lightning flash. The Hey is where it goes into. So simple example is given is someone has an idea. They say like, I want to build a building. Wow, that's like the Yud, that's like the Chokmah, that's like a boom, an idea that comes in. So if they don't do anything about it, then it doesn't go anywhere. The Hey is, all right, let me understand what that means. What kind of building? A residential building, a building for business, a building for commerce, a building for families. What is it going to look like? Where is it going to be? How many floors is it going to have? What kind? Now you're breaking into the details. So if the initial energy or light doesn't attach to the Hey, which is the feminine aspect of the details, it just kind of, it's like a balloon. It comes down and you let go and it goes back up, right? It's like ideas, ideas are wonderful things, but if you're not doing anything with them, they're not acting on them, then it doesn't do anything. What is it doing? So it needs that feminine energy, which is also likened to spiritual and physical. The spiritual being the masculine energy or the Yud, and the physical being the feminine energy or the Hey, of how do I make that reality, that thought, come into reality? And that's really the next step. And that's kind of really where, as they say in business, the rubber hits the road, meaning that now it's not just an idea, but it's coming into fruition. And this doesn't have to be in business. It could be in any aspect, right? And it's like, sometimes we pops in our brain like, oh, wow, I'm just thinking about that person. I haven't talked to him in a long time. Maybe I should call him. Forget it. So that's the energy that just went away. But if that energy actually says, no, I'm going to call them, and you pick up the phone, that's the feminine energy that's bringing it into reality, the physicality. So you need both of those coming together, and that's the Yud and the Hey. So it says there's a number of reasons why these two letters represents wisdom and understanding, respectively. Yud has the primary form of a simple point. This alludes to the fact that wisdom is simple and undifferentiated. The numerical value of Yud is 10, indicating all 10 sefirot are included in the simple nature of wisdom. Meaning in that idea, in that just spark, that germ, that little bit of energy is the potential for unlimited things. I may have spoke about this before because I bring this quote a lot, but they've studied like hyper successful people in any field of reality. And when ideas pop in their head, they bring them into reality. And they're operating on such a high functional level that it's like, all right, let's just do it. And they put teams together and they just make it work. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But they've accustomed themselves to acting on those impulses, positive ones, not negative ones, like positive ones of whatever it may be, an idea, a creation, something in business that and eventually, even when they're not working, they will start to work some of them. Whereas people who struggle for a multitude of reasons, fear, uncertainty, worry, lack of experience, whatever it is, they think of ideas and then, that's not going to work. Or, I don't know if that's a good idea. Definitely. Ask like a friend, oh, that's stupid. Okay, that's stupid. Like, and it just disappears. And we spend our whole life in kind of that Yud energy with all that potential, but nothing comes of it, right? It's like I see it. It's on one hand, it's nice because we have the guys in the center, and I remember being their age, and I had all these great ideas. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. I'm like, great, do it. But it doesn't happen. It's just idea after idea after idea after idea after idea. But unless that idea comes into a physical reality, it stays in potential. And that's why it says that the Yud has that potential. It has all 10 sefirot in it, meaning it has the potential. How are you? It has the potential to be complete. And this is the difference we see in with Hashem. When something arises in Hashem's will, he does it. It's just, it says God's thoughts and his actions are one. God he didn't think about creating the world and like says, maybe it's not a good idea. Like the second he thought about it, it's a reality. It's a Metzias. When Mashiach comes, we will all live in that reality because everything we do that will be good, it will be positive. There won't be any more negative energy. So we'll think of a good idea and we're not going to have that resistance. No, don't do it. It's not going to work. What are they going to say? They're going to laugh, this and that, and dies. We'll think of ideas. And we'll be so in tune with the energy from above and with the energy inside of ourselves that those ideas will actually, it'll go into motion and become reality. Yeah. But we have that capacity now. And that's a little bit, as we were speaking about, some of these hyper successful people, that they are living in that reality already. They may not realize it. I'm not talking about religious people. A lot of them not even Jewish, but that something arises in their will and they have such a high level of confidence, and this takes time to get there, where they're just doing it. And they're I use business as just an easy muscle to think about. And they come with ideas and they're starting businesses, and some of them work and some of them don't. But there's a value to just continuing on and doing it. So that's why it says the Yud is the gematria of 10, because all the 10 sefirot, from thought to emotion to action, are in there in potential. So every idea, you're too young to drink, mister. Oh, you're bringing it to the table. Thanks. He's bar mitzvah. Next thing you know, he's bringing alcohol around. As long as you don't drink it, you're fine. Meaning that every idea really has a potential in it to have total completion. It's a nugget, it's a kernel, it's like a seed, right? If you take a seed, any seed has the potential, if you stick it in the ground and water it, to become a tree. It's an amazing thing. But if you take that seed and just flip it into the air or throw it in the garbage, nothing happens from it. It's the same thing with an idea. Every idea has the potential to become a reality. But are we going through those steps to bring it to the next level? And again, I use business just because it's a simple muscle, but could it be anything? It could be reaching out to a friend. It could be, repairing a relationship that is no longer in your life. Someone that you think about, like you got in a fight with many years ago, and you're like, wow, I wonder how this person's doing. Like, it's like, a friend of mine, just to bring it up, Rabbi Lipsker, Zichrono Lebracha, the rabbi of the shul in Bal Harbour, he just passed away last week. I'm sure you might have heard. He was a tremendous person. I mean, he started the Aleph Institute. He started the shul Bal Harbour, the Torah Science. Huge guy, and he was a kind of a mentor for a friend of mine, and he helped him out a lot. And the day before he passed away, my friend was in the area of Bal Harbour, and he's like, you know what? Let me go visit Rabbi Lipsker. I haven't seen him forever. I want to go see him, say hi. And he started going, he's like, nah, he's too busy. He's not gonna, he's not gonna have the time for me. He's probably not gonna even, secretary probably won't let me in. Forget it. And the next day finally died. He's like, oh my God, why didn't I do it? Just an example. Sometimes we have thoughts that I heard one time in a Farbrengen that if someone is arising in your thoughts, that you're thinking about them, then reach out to them. There's a connection there. There's a reason. I do it sometimes. I should do it more often. But I think of someone that I haven't talked to in a long time. And I'll just call them up and be like, hey, you know what? You popped up in my mind. So I was thinking about you. So I'm reaching out to you. Like, there was a book. I'll find it after. I can't remember right now. It's a really crazy book. I'm trying to think of the name. It was written by a Jew, a secular Jew who was into yoga and meditation, all these things. And the name escaping me. I'll come back. He was a chiropractor, and he got into yoga and mindfulness and all these things, and similar conversation to what we're talking about now. And he said, for 1 year, whatever thoughts or whatever comes to me, if someone comes to me, someone calls me, someone gives an idea, I'm just going to go with it and see where it leads me. And it's wild. Like he removed that filter of doubt of, nah, that's crazy. What if it doesn't work? It doesn't make sense. That's not logical. And he just went with the flow, whatever was coming his way. And he wound up doing crazy stuff, invented a software company, set up a whole retreat in the mountains. He became unbelievably successful. And he was not that type of person, because he just let go of that inner critical voice that right? We all have that inner critical voice. They say when you're trying to create, whether that's writing, painting, building a business plan, whatever, the first step always should be just let go of the critical voice and just let everything flow. Let it flow. Don't edit and write at the same time. In other words, when you're trying to think of something, don't have that voice, that's stupid, that doesn't work. Try to move that out of the way and just give place to that energy to flow through. And then you could always go back later and what's his name? Ernest Hemingway said, write drunk, edit sober. some people say he meant it literally, and others say he meant it just like when you're being in a creative space, shut off the critical voice, shut off that nah, 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 and just let it all out, and then you could go back and shape it afterwards. And that's kind of like the idea to get to this place where God is talking to us. Sometimes we think we're crazy, but there's a voice. Sometimes it's not a scream, it's not a yell, it's not like, what are you doing? If any voice that starts screaming like that, that's the Yetzirah. That's not God. God's not standing with a stick over you, yelling, don't do this, don't do that. Like, that's complete klipa. But there is a guiding voice inside of us sometimes that's guiding us to do things that may not make logical sense. That we may pause and be like, oh, that's crazy. That doesn't make sense. Like, whatever. I've experienced this in my life all the time. Like, why would I do that? Doesn't. And I'm getting better at trying to listen to it and do things even if they don't make logical sense, as long as they're not harming anyone and the result is something good. I'm like, all right, so where would this voice be coming from? And you could kind of start getting in tune a little bit with that inner guiding voice, that seed of potential, and then with God's help to lead it to actual success. And success doesn't have to be changing the world. Success could be just like you said, like Sarah, you said, like, a few minutes ago, like, like the voice could be like, stay in bed, like, and the inner voice is like, no, like, I'm listening to that. And then you get up and do it. It's like, oh, wow. Like, the more you get in tune with that right voice, the more it will guide you, right? It's a Havdil, but it's like the cartoons as a kid. There's like an angel and a devil, like one on each shoulder. You guys remember that? Like from the cartoons? And it's like the more you listen to that negative voice, the more it's going to take you to bad places. And we all know that, right? And then the more we listen to the positive voice, the more we start growing, the more that seed starts sprouting. So that's the idea, is that Yud has that potential. So at the beginning of a word, the letter Yud indicates the masculine future. That is related to the teaching, who is wise? He who perceives the future. What does it mean? It says, wisdom is someone whose eyes are in their head, meaning they're looking ahead beyond the instance. Stay in bed, eat that piece of food I shouldn't be eating, overeat, overindulge, whatever it is. In a childlike, immature, and I don't mean this in a negative way towards anyone, but a childlike mindset, a child doesn't think about the long-term ramifications of what they're doing. It's like a piece of candy's in front of you, eat it. As we start growing into adulthood, we start thinking more along the lines of, all right, well, what's going to happen if I do this? Like, is this serving me? Is this going to be good for me in the long term? Often we learn that by doing the wrong thing over and over and over again. And it's like the Lahavdil, the movie Matrix, he stops the car. He's like, Neil, you can go back right now to where you came from. You know where that path is leading you. It's like, we know what's going to happen if we listen to that negative voice, right? It's like, it's a drug addict. That's what it really comes down to. It's like another time, and you can't break the cycle until eventually, God's help, you get out of it, or you hit rock bottom, something wakes up, and you realize, I don't want to do that. That's not helping me. It's like when we're angry at someone or we're pissed off, whoever it is, our mothers, our fathers, our friends, our neighbors, whoever screwed us, whoever did us dirty, whoever messed up our lives. And there's a place to have that anger. There's a place to take it out. But at some point in time, we've just got to move on, because otherwise we're not harming that person. We're harming ourselves. When we have negative energy in us towards anyone or anything, it's destroying us. It's not helping. It's like, the truth is, that person who we're angry about or frustrated about, they don't even know some of the times. Sorry, they may know a little bit, but like, oh, I can't believe. Get angry, take it out, but then the next step Okay, yeah. I guess I'm back over here. Okay. Mochin Galud is when what we're talking about right now. Who is wise? Who sees the future? So hold on a second. I know I spend an inordinate amount of time on my calendars, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, looking ahead of what's happening next month, what's happening next quarter, because everything I do now is affecting next week and the following week. And if I'm just every day waking up and like, all right, what am I going to do today? I would collapse. I have so hundreds of things I have to attend to on a daily basis in every aspect of my law firm, my family, the center, and everything has to be compartmentalized. And I know that if I just don't go to this meeting or I don't go to work today, it's not only about today, it's going to throw off the next day and the next day and the next day. It's to look beyond the immediate into the next stage in the future. It says at the end of the word, when a suffix is used as the yud, it means me or my, possessive. Talking about Hebrew language. So a yud before the word is showing future tense, masculine future tense. And that's why the yud is chokmah. It's indicating of who is wise, who sees towards the future. A yud after the word in Hebrew language is showing possessive, meaning an individual. It belongs to me. So what does it mean? It says wisdom is the essential nature of the individual belonging to him alone. Oh, did you hear this? This is very interesting. No, I'm saying you'll enjoy this because I know you like the Hebrew language. So it says when you put a yud before a word in the Hebrew word, it's masculine future. Masculine is going on chokhmah. Future is inside the yud is the gematria 10. It has all 10 sfirot. Chokhmah is looking to the future, as we just said. It's having mochin gadlut and seeing what is beyond the immediate, what I'm doing. This is the yud before. It's being able to look ahead and advance and not just live in exactly what's happening at this moment. When you put a yud at the end of the word, it makes it possessive. My belongs to me, right? This is the same idea, showing that wisdom ultimately belongs to who? To you. That it's within your capabilities to have the chokhmah to see beyond. So this yud that's playing in the Hebrew language is indicative of chokhmah and how it interplays in our lives. It's quite interesting. So it says the same idea referring to the infinite being, Hashem. Now, hey is the numerical value of 5, alluding to the 5 fingers of the hand. So it says it represents understanding. The hand that holds wisdom, distributing and channeling it. Talking about Yud Hey. The 32 paths were engraved by Yud Hey, by God, but it's used Yud Hey instead of Havaya, which is Yud Hey Vav Hey. Yud is Chokhmah, Hey is Bina. So the Yud is 10, meaning it exists the potential in every idea, all 10 sfirot. Every idea has the potential to reach completion if it's seen through to the end. And the Hey is Gematria 5, right? Which means that your 5 fingers is the hand, showing that wisdom has to be channeled into something tangible, something real. It can't just remain as an idea floating above. It has to come into your hand, so to speak, where you're doing something with it. Otherwise, it's just an idea, as we said, that floats away. It's a seed that never goes into the ground and makes a tree, just thrown off. So that's the idea of this yud and hey connecting together. And now it says the hey at the beginning of a word as a prefix. It is the definitive article that specifies and delineates an object. Like ha something, right? It's talking about the specific, right? Like I can't think of a word right now, but like a sefer, right? It's referring to this one, not just the idea of a book, but this specifically, a sefer, this one. That's what it means as a definite article. This is going back to grammar for those, I don't know if we remember from school. So it says, just like a hand, the definite article holds and specifies a concept that is specific rather than general, right? Hakos, meaning referring to this kos specifically. So this yud energy, this chokmah energy, this potential has to be channeled to something specific. It can't just be a general idea, right? I have an idea. What am I going to do? How about want to be successful? What does that mean? Right? Like people say all the time, what's your goal? I want to be rich. I want to be skinny. I want to be smart. All right, well, that's not a goal. That's a general concept. It has to be channeled into a vessel. And that's the hay. This thing. The yud and the hay have to interplay together. That huge potential in that yud with 10 sphirot in it has to enter into a specific physical direction. Otherwise, it's just a concept. It's just a thought. I want to be a better parent. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better friend. But how do you define what that means, right? You want something to be improved in your life. What? Goals, the more specific they are, first of all, you got to write them down, right? That's why we have a Torah. It's written. It's something tangible. It has to be specific. It has to be written down. The more detailed, it's like with a story. Like anytime you read a good book or a good story, imagine if there's no details. And it's just like the boy talked to the girl, they went to the store. I was like, every little detail. Yeah. You're doing the hay, the 5 hands, fingers. Yes.
Something I've been learning from people is, let's say I want to accomplish something and I'm not doing it. And let's say first, I can find a specific goal of what I want to do. It could be something, even a way I want to feel about myself. And then, so why am I not doing it? There's usually a belief that I have about myself that limits me from being able to then accomplish that. So it's like, okay, I can identify the goal that I want. Then now I go and identify the belief that's holding me back. And once you do that, it's like, okay, now things become so clear. Like, oh, obviously I can't accomplish this because this is what I believe about the situation. Like, and with that, I want this job, but secretly I believe that I don't deserve more money or I'm not good enough, whatever. And then it's
not going to work out. I'm going to get fired, whatever the case may be.
And then you decide, oh, okay, now I see this. Do I want to hold on to this belief anymore? Or do I want to throw it in the garbage?
Right.
And then you can figure out a way to let that go.
Sure.
And then,
no, it's a
and see what's actually going on. And
sure.
It's like, oh, everything's so overwhelming.
Sure. I remember when I was from Rav Arad. It was one of my wife's teachers, a very well-known chassid in Israel, has tremendous teachings, and he has a whole coaching system based on the Sefer Yetzirah, based on what we're learning right now. It's an unbelievable complex system of individual coaching. And I was working with one of his coaches, and I remember I had a problem with guilt. That was like something that was like, I think every Jew does, right? That's like in our DNA, right? We have this guilt. And he's like, what is the guilt doing for you? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know what I don't understand it. He's like, what is the guilt doing? I'm like, what do you mean? I feel guilty. He's like, no, but what is it doing for you? I couldn't grasp it in my brain to get to the point that if I feel guilty about it, it's my way of saying, oh, I'm not doing it. But if I eat my kishkas out and I feel guilty about it, at least I feel like I have some level of, oh, I care enough, or I'm not a bad person, you see, because I feel guilty about it. If I didn't feel guilty, then I would be a jerk. I was like, how could that not bother you? So, but it's a self-defeating behavior mechanism.
And I think that a lot of the way we live our life is just being run by like the little kid inside of us that's just trying to stay safe and like learn certain ways of living, and those ways of living kept you safe at that time. But life is different now, and you need to see what am I doing that is not serving me anymore. And it's usually like you're not trying to be bad and have a bad life.
Sure.
You're just like stuck in these,
Yes.
And it's always somehow like even things that look like it's obviously hurting you, it's somehow also some part of you feels like it's helping.
Yeah. There's a very sick, deranged enjoyment of being depressed.
For sure.
It's like self-loathing, like you like, and it's hard to explain because it doesn't make logical sense so much. But like you get into a funk And it's like you like enjoy, like in a sick way of being sick, of not being well. And it's voice that false message, right? It's, as a child, the ego is a very important thing. If I don't cry, my parents don't know I poop my pants. They don't know if I'm hungry. But as you start getting older, that ego starts becoming a defeating mechanism because it's stopping you from doing what you need to do. So yeah, that's part of the navigation is to realize what is preventing me from doing these things. But it really, there's a saying, lahavdil, that the devil's in the details. Meaning that in any aspect of any creation, it really comes down to the minutia of things. And it's really about being able to hyper focus. I'll just use business because it's just a very easy muscle to connect to life. There's a saying. I was in a big seminar one time of marketing, and the guy taught us. He said the riches are in the niches. The niches is a unique aspect that you provide. And a niche is something like a niche, or niche is like niche. Yeah. Niche is the proper way of saying it. Something niches is like a kind of a slang, but niche like riches and niches. So potato. But the idea is that it's like the when you fine tune the details, it's like I had a friend who was a businessman, and it was that motorhomes, like the little like mechanism conductors for certain type of electricity in motorhomes, like found a way to split the conductor into like a couple more parts and started making like millions and millions of dollars by uncovering like a little detail that was overseen.
Right, like everybody so many people sell this type of picture, but you figure out that you figured out that you need to have this little triangle here and it makes it work better.
Right.
So now you stand out.
Correct.
All the other people.
Hi, I'm sorry, I'm showing me to get. I can't hug you. But how are you? I'm just kidding. How are you? You can come around. So no, right. So in business, like we have developed a niche, whatever, in our area, where we have a very, very specific area of law we practice, and we're the only firms who do it. And we've developed a reputation for it, and now people come to us for this specific area. So it's the same thing in life. The more detailed, and this is experience, this is over time, our goals can be more specific, more delineated, right? Again, like, everyone starts out the beginning of the year and says, my goal is to become skinny, someone weighs 400 pounds. They say, I want to become skinny. And there's no plan. There's no structure. There's no steps. There's no stages. There's no daily, weekly accounting of calories of what you have. So when it stays in this kind of big, just idea, it usually doesn't go anywhere. When it becomes more specific, as we said, all right, and I've given this example before, someone wants to lose 100 pounds over a year, say, okay, so what is that? That's 8 pounds a month. That's 2 pounds a week. What's my caloric intake? How do I get it down from 12,000 calories to 4,000 calories a day? I got to exercise 30 minutes a day. I got to cut out this amount of food. I got to change my diet to this. Those are actual detailed steps that are going to get you where you need to go. How are you? But if it just stays in this general idea, it doesn't go anywhere. So it's a very fascinating thing that he's bringing out in the Sefer Yetzirah right now, that this Yud and the Hey, how they come together, right? So the Yud is the potential. It's the 10 sefirot that are baked into this little tiny dot, this seed. But if that potential doesn't go into something and grow, which is the Hey, which is the 5 fingers of the hand, which represents a plan, something physical, it doesn't exist. And that's why the Yud and the Hey have to come together. That's why masculine and feminine energy need to coexist. Judaism is the only religion in the world that our whole entire objective is not to go to heaven. It's not about spirituality. It's about infusing spiritual and physical, masculine and feminine energy. It's about this physical world. Everything has to manifest into this physical world. every masculine energy has to have a feminine energy to it. Every woman has a masculine energy. Every man has a feminine energy. I speak about this a lot. It's very obvious to me why there's all this sickness right now with this transgender and there's all this confusion in gender identity, because God is bringing us to a state of repair where the masculine and feminine energy are coexisting together as one, and it's coming together inside of us. And someone who is not familiar with that energy and all of a sudden starts feeling a little female energy right away, maybe I'm supposed to be a woman. No, you're supposed to balance your masculine energy and your feminine energy. And every woman has their masculine energy and feminine energy as well. So it's really getting these two opposite energies to coexist. Physical and spiritual are opposite energies, but God controls both of them. They're both creations, right? Spiritual isn't any more godly than physical. In fact, it says when Mashiach comes, our physical bodies will give life to our souls. In other words, our bodies will be holier than our souls.
But isn't the physical also spiritual?
It has
What do you mean by physical?
physical, like physicality,
But
our bodies.
our physical is also, it's the God's light, the engines of God, and whatever this is. It's not like separate from God.
No, but it's physical. Like if you ask most people, they think of God as like in heaven.
Right.
They think about God as in this cup, as in this table.
The whole illusion is that we think it's something. It's not.
Correct. That's the illusion. That's right. But it's not. So right now in the times of the exile, our soul gives life to our body. In other words, the energy from our body, our power pack, if you will, just like the battery of the car or the engine of the car is what runs the car. Right now, it's the soul that runs the body. But when Mashiach comes, the body will run the soul. In other words, our bodies will be holier than our souls. Physicality will reach a state. That's why it says that the woman will be higher than the man, meaning the physical will be higher than the spiritual. The physical energy of this world will be higher than the spiritual energy.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
It's a little bit off topic, but
Not a problem. I'm getting my site. Yeah, I'm finishing up.
with the Gilgulim, there's so many
Yeah.
Gilgulim. Is it all gonna come back to one body?
That's a very good question. So when the Gilgul, sorry, ladies, if you could just, hello. Sorry, I'm still recording. Just give us 2 minutes. We're finishing up. So if there's many Gilgulim, right? And one soul can have many reincarnations in different bodies. So what happens when Mashiach comes? Where's that manifesting, right?
Which body is it gonna be?
So yeah, it's a good question. And they will go into all the bodies. In other words, one root soul can have 5,000 sparks that come off of it.
Will they like meet up and be like, hey?
It happens now. Have you ever met someone and you don't know them and you just click?
Or
You feel like you know this person?
know them.
on the street,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I know you.
Happens to me also. You're talking to someone, you're like, have we met before? And there's a good chance that your souls come from the same root.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow. Or maybe could it be like your soul encountered their soul?
that could be also.
So
So-
you're saying it's just gonna split up into the.
Yeah, well, I'll be in different bodies. So I'll come back. So let me just finish up so they can move on ahead. So, and that's the idea where it says the hey at the beginning of the word means the. Hakos is the cup. So the hey is the 5, which is the fingers, right? And the yud is the masculine energy. And it's like this is the earth and this is the seed. Without the feminine energy, physicality, the masculine energy can't exist. And the feminine energy without the masculine energy can't exist. They have to coexist. And that's the idea of that the yud, the potential of all that godly energy has to manifest into a specific thing, or it's just like a seed not going into the ground. So it says the hey at the end of the word is a feminine possessive of her, meaning the understanding is in the domain of the feminine essence. Hey is one of the 2 letters of the Hebrew alphabet that is written as 2 disjunct parts, right? There's one line like this, one like this. They're 2 separate things. They don't connect. This alludes to the fact that understanding represents the beginning of separation. There's some disagreement in the Talmud as to whether or not Yah is a divine name. The Sefer Yetzirah clearly states from the position that it is. So let me just wrap up and then we'll continue with God's help next week. So the idea is, and when it says with 32 mystical paths, Yah, Yud, Hey, engraved in the world, created the world, meaning specifically the Sefer Yetzirah is teaching us that this energy, this masculine energy that God used to create the world, has to be attached to a physical energy. God's idea to create had to come into a physical world. There has to be a physical, tangible object. So these two things must coexist together. And this is really the whole point of all of creation, is to balance masculine and feminine energy, and to realize that there's no difference between the godly energy in a thought or a concept or an idea or a heaven, and the godly energy in a physical world. And that's really the ultimate goal of where we want to get to, where we become in a state of oneness, in a state of flow with that energy, as we spoke about, where we eventually get to this place where we start training ourselves to listen to the good voice, not the bad voice. Even if it's in the short run more painful to listen to the good voice, even if it's more difficult, even if it's harder to push away that food that we really feel like eating, but we know it's not good for us, or to get out of bed when we really want to keep sleeping, the more we can start habitualizing ourselves to following that good energy and that good voice, the more that flow enters into us, and the more we can start achieving the state of symbiotic balance between these two energies of masculine and feminine.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you. Yes. God bless you all. And we should all continue growing and flowing.
Amen.
See you next week.